Dude doesn't get that D&D is not an MMO. I had a whole falling out with a player who constantly got mad at the CR of encounters and got mad at me for undermining the frontliners as a whisper bard with a melee build and wasting my inspiration to use psychic blades instead of buffing the frontliners. The player eventually got kicked for not paying attention and general bad behavior / attitude, so his lack of ability / interest in adjusting was certainly not isolated. Anyway, he was really into FFXIV. I had never played it, nor had interest in it. Later, I started playing a bit and realized how the class and raid system worked. I didn't super enjoy it and I stopped. Months later, I realized this guy was mad at me for being a support class trying to DPS. Very silly. Anyway, the game after he left was plenty fun, and we mostly handled the encounters the DM threw at us with few issues. Because the DM had never made us run down every single enemy or punished us for not having the right ratio of support / DPS / tanks. Player needs to be center of attention, but can't talk to anyone. They're a player in our group that loves to roleplay, but only if it involves her. No one else seems to be able to have their own moments. Anytime we meet new NPCs or get near a town, she feels the need to be the first to interact with them, but never does it well. She also doesn't care about anyone else. If it's not about her, she'll play with her pets, or play with minis like dolls, or be on her phone. She never pays attention during combat. See, she made an animal. As in, she made a character who doesn't talk, can't read or write, and doesn't understand how to interact with people or civilization. Another of our group's characters has to babysit her constantly, so she doesn't do anything too horrible. She hoards magic items because shiny. Anytime we get close to a town, she decides to transform into some predatory animal and run through it to cause as much panic as possible. Or in meeting an NPC, she'll throw rocks at them. In a dozen sessions, I haven't wanted to interact with her once. The only person in our party who interacts with her is the person who has to babysit her. No one else really cares about her. And she doesn't belong in our party. Even in her own character, she doesn't actually have a justification for staying with us beyond just following us around. She doesn't know anything about any of the other characters in the party, and she doesn't bother to pay any attention to us. And the sad thing is, she's safe from any danger because the DM is her boyfriend, so he gives her plot armor. No matter how bad she acts, there's never consequences. She should be in jail by now, but everyone just seems to ignore her antics, because if she doesn't get her way, she becomes really whinny and cold towards everyone else. And it's not like we can drop her or the game, because several of us live together, and that would spark a tantrum to end all tantrums. It's gotten so bad that I've plotted her death dozens of times. No enemy will attack her, and no NPC will get rid of her. So one of us would have to do it. But God, would that release a demon? I'm sorry, this turned more into venting than I intended. Just a symptom of a bad player and bad DM holding the rest of us hostage with no easy way out. I'll try to rest now, and I'll try to answer any questions, if people have them. Guide on how to know if a story is fake or not, Ultimate Definitive Edition. Lately I've noticed a lot of meta discussions on the topic of faking stories, so I decided to throw my hat into the ring and compiled a list of general rules that can be applied to pretty much every post on here. Hope this helps. Is greater than exclamation point 1. Consistency is key. An OP should never give you their either up. Is greater than exclamation point 2. Regardless of its legitimacy, it always sucks when a story doesn't have a satisfying conclusion. Especially the extra long posts. A good author would never let you down. Is greater than exclamation point 3. Isn't it weird how some ops refuse to acknowledge any sort of criticism? But you can see that they are active on other subreddits. It's pretty telling. If they run around and desert you like that, they're probably hiding something. Exclamation point 4. This is r/Rutger or stories not r/sad. The goal shouldn't be to make you cry. Is greater than exclamation point 5. It's a bit of a personal gripe. but never say goodbye at the end of your posts. Not only is it unnecessarily dramatic, but we all know you're going to be back in a month or two. Exclamation point 6. Don't let the OP bully you. Telling lies is one thing, but if they are trying to hurt you in some way then you should definitely speak up. And, yeah, that's it. I just wanted to tell you guys how I'm feeling, and, hopefully, make you understand my point of view. Am I overreacting, or are my player just wannabe hardcore? So, I recently got into D&D again after a horrible experience a few years ago, this time as a DM. I'm playing with 5 of my closest friends and we play twice a week, but I start to regret everything honestly. Apologies for mistakes, but English is not my first language. So, in my campaign, they are the chosen ones, and are fighting a few demons. Monsters, all for glory and fame. But they are kind of exaggerating it. Last session, I put them in dangerous terrain. They've never experienced a sandstorm before, since the world is pretty Middle European based. I was hoping for them to react to it. But instead they went sleeping, not even showing some kind of fear or concern for the spectacle, like, I have never experienced a sandstorm either. But I'm pretty sure I wouldn't stop staring at it and being anxious when I asked if they don't want to look into it closer. They said, dude, we are adventurers, we fear nothing. Okay, cool. The session before, I had an evil mage manipulating them and showing them an alternative reality where everyone they loved was dead or tortured. Again, nothing. They just went on, unfazed. And again the explanation, I'm an adventurer, I'm confident and strong, nothing can scare me. Not even you seeing your mother getting ripped apart by a zombie elf? Okay, cool. Another time, I said they couldn't get a long rest, since the environment was harsh. If they fell asleep, the fire would have gone out, and they would frozen to death. They wanted a long rest anyways. Because, we are strong and powerful, we can handle it, followed by being mad at me when I did not kill them. But gave to levels of exhaustion due to freezing weather and their bodies not getting enough rest because they needed to fight the cold. Maybe that was unfair from my side, but I just wanted a reaction. I wanted a hint of fear, concern, something that wasn't we are though bitches and nothing can kill us. I would have been happy with anything, but no, not even a hint of exhaustion during roleplay. Okay, this is starting to get uncool. My question now is, am I just exaggerating, or are they too far gone in their power fantasy? I get that they want to be the heroes. But I think me making them the chosen ones who are the only people who can destroy the evil is really enough for level 8. I'm honestly starting to lose interest. Edit. Okay, I got it. I made mistakes. I shouldn't have given them an option to kill someone in session 0. It's okay. I understand that I might have another idea of D&D. I'll talk to my players and educate myself on the matter. Thank you. Rule proposal. Write considerately. Long rune in paragraphs, uninterrupted stream of consciousness meltdowns, and posts with mounds of irrelevant details / convoluted aliases are not reader friendly. If your authorial voice sounds like it desperately needs to use the bathroom at a large amusement park with no maps. Hey, I get it, that's what rough drafts are for. Just get the ideas down on paper, but there is no time pressure to hit the submit button. You don't have to send in the unedited blob of thoughts. There's no reason to submit anything written in that fashion if you care about readability. Caring about readability refers to having a modicum of consideration about the people you want to read your submission. If you can't be bothered to give a shit about the audience, namely, your peers on this sub, I don't think you're a positive addition to the community. I think the subreddit should have stronger rules against these types of inconsiderate posts existing. Underscore. And frankly, your decision to not even try to communicate helpfully is not a good trait for someone who wants to participate in a collaborative game like D&D. If you insist on posting like a neurotic telegram operator on an airplane about to crash into the Titanic, yeah, you probably are the bad guy. And entirely for reasons under your control. DM bullies PC who had to leave at the agreed end time by killing their character. Second session of the campaign, we hit the agreed upon end time. DM wants to keep going but one of the PCs needs to leave. I'm the most experienced player / and typical DM, so she asks me to run her character. As she's leaving, the DM starts joking that he's going to kill her character as soon as she leaves. 10 minutes later we get in a fight on a mountain path. She's an archer, so I put her in a defensible position that's behind the front line that's also away from the slope. I declare a readied action to fire her arrow at anything that approaches the group. DM decides that the enemy can leap over the frontline fighters, attack her without provoking our opportunity attacks, or letting her use the readied action. On a hit, he declares she flies through the air several spaces and falls off the cliff and dies. DM ends the episode noting that it's not his fault because he's just running by the book and it was a bad die roll. DM made a game for one player. I had only been playing 4th for a few months back in 2011 with my roommates and my husband and boyfriend. One of my roommates had been a DM before and asked if we wanted to start a second game to play every other week to give our current DM a break and get to play. We all agreed excitedly and wrote up characters. I played a scion, my husband a warden, my roommate a druid, our other roommate a ranger. And our DM decided to play 3 NPCs, a fighter, a wizard, and a cleric. We figured our party was a little small so 3 NPCs would be helpful. Except we never got to do anything. The druid got to do everything. The story centered around her entirely, which was mostly alright as she had the most important backstory, and it could cause the biggest conflict which we all thought would be fun. Again, this wasn't a problem and brought us together as a group rather quickly as we all wanted to protect her from the BBEG. We were traveling around trying to find a way to defeat the BBEG as he was a super powerful necromancer. We kept coming across things that required our skill checks for, like locked doors, heavy boulders hiding a secret passage, a language scrawled on the walls, etc. We kept offering to move things, decode things, or even a simple perception check, but our DM would say, "Don't worry, NPC has it. Oh, NPC is already deciphering the language." All except for the druid. If she wanted to do something the DM would let her. It got to the point that we were all just playing around on our phones, or stacking dice, or drawing. We complained a little about not getting to do anything, and she'd just throw us into super hard combat whenever we did. So we stopped complaining for fear that she'd kill off our characters, and anytime we'd go into a new place to investigate she'd ask what our characters would do, and my response would always be, "I hold the torch." We still had fun doing a few other things in the campaign, and she was our roommate, so we didn't want to quit the game, but it really made it not fun when all the excitement we ever got was combat. I think I'm getting pushed around by one of my groups. I've been playing in a group with some people I met online for almost a year now, and so far only my character has ever had any sort of negative story beats happen to him out of a party of 4. He's died, he's been thrown around between warlock patrons like a toy, he's been possessed by his patron, etc. Meanwhile the rest of the party hasn't had anything really happen to them. Even when it looked like the barbarian's parents were in danger, they were completely fine and nothing bad happened to them. The worst thing that's happened to the rest of them happened before the campaign started, and is the reason the sorcerer is traveling. I wouldn't really think much about it, but a lot of the party banter towards me has also gotten almost excessively mean-spirited lately too. Every time my character tries to do something, 1 or 2 of the party say they want him to die. When a plot point for the cleric was thrown out, everybody wanted to do it. But when I put my foot down, after they put it off to do their own things, they got really exasperated and mad at me, and I had to force them to do the thing they were excited to do a few weeks before. When I heard my character actually spend time with someone out of the party, the barbarian kept wanting it to go poorly. While only 2/3 party members are really doing anything, the other party member and the DM haven't said anything to get them to stop. We are ending that part of the story soon, and the DM has been dropping hints about doing something with my character's parents after the other party has interacted with them. But I just don't know if I want to deal with that while people jeer at me like has been happening for a good portion of the campaign now. I know I should talk to them, but I don't want to rock the boat so close to the end. I play an archer, GM converts me to a monk. We had a new campaign and a different GM, so I wanted to try out something different from the norm. An archer sounded like an interesting challenge, so I built one. Tracking my ammo, scouting to plan combat, inevitably getting killed in close combat, because I literally don't have a second weapon. I was ready for the whole thing from start to death. The first game day we have the party is magically split up, so I climb a tree to look for them. Naturally the embodiment of death appears in front of me and plucks out my eyes. I'm now a blind archer. I hear a pack of rabbit dogs apparently coming up to me, so I do the only thing that makes sense, now that I'm worse than useless, and fall out of the tree to lay down and let the dogs kill me. The GM says I passed the test, turns out death was some kind of Zen embodiment and now I'm a monk, so I don't need a bow. I told him that I keep waiting for the dogs